If you haven't noticed, there are a lot of YouTubers who are leaving or quitting YouTube. This has been going on probably for the last 3 weeks to a month, maybe even longer, but it's starting to really trend on YouTube. I'm a little bit late to the game, but I just wanted to weigh in on this whole thing because it's very interesting to me that YouTubers are quitting at this time. The first question that comes to mind is, why are YouTubers quitting? Some of the reasons that people are leaving range from people being burnt out because they're posting and posting and posting. And with YouTube, as you know, if you want to be successful, you have to be consistent with that post. And that can take a lot out of you, especially if you're a one-man team. And there are a lot of people out there that are like that. And you're going up against all these other YouTubers who have huge teams of people, sometimes 5, 6, 7 different people that are involved in the creative process. You then have people who are saying things like the input doesn't equal the output, meaning you put a lot of time, a lot of energy, research into your video only to not get any views or get very little views. And that causes people to want to leave the platform as well, because you're putting in all this work and you're not getting anything out of it. A lot of people that are saying they're burnout are people that have been at YouTube for years, like 10+ years. That's a lot of time to put into YouTube. So the question is, what happened? What happened to YouTube? YouTube started in like 2004, 2005. And when you posted videos back then, it was just posting a video. There were no metrics. There was really nothing to measure your video by. You could leave stars if you liked the video, but that didn't really change your posting. You just posted because it was just you. If you're too young to remember, back in the day, televisions used to be these big, huge things that had glass fronts, and they were actually a tube that projected the picture onto the front of it. And it was encased in plastic, and these things were big and they were bulky and they were heavy. I remember Sony had these Trinitron TVs that people used to call them Trinaton because they were so heavy, where that whole thing of tube is what YouTube is based on. TV used to be, you'll watch the news, you'll watch your shows, you'll watch movies with VHS cassettes and things like that. But YouTube was your chance to put yourself on the other side of the TV or the tube. And in this case, it was the computer. People did all kinds of things on YouTube, whether they were into woodworking, if they were into rollerblading, if they were into cars, whatever they were into, they would post it. And there was no format to follow. You literally just uploaded a video and that was it. And if people liked it, they watched it. If they didn't, then they didn't. And it was not a big deal. In 2007, though, things changed. YouTube announced the YouTube Partnership Program, or the YouTube Partner Program. But you had metrics that you had to meet before you could actually be in the program. And I think that's when YouTube changed. People coming after the YouTube Partnership Program had it in their minds that they wanted to get on YouTube to make money. It was no longer about just being creative and you putting your stuff on there just because you wanted to. It now had an incentive behind it because it had metrics. It was looking at your watch time. It was looking at your click-through rate. It was looking at all these things that people didn't even understand yet, but it was the driving force behind getting paid. So what does this mean in 2024? Well, I think it comes down to two things when it comes to YouTube and how you can approach it. You can either be, on one hand, a creator, or on the other hand, you can be a business. So you have to choose which one you want to be. So let's say you choose to be a creator. What are some of the pros of being a creator on YouTube in 2024? Well, you could take your time to post whenever you want. You can post whatever you want. You can title your videos whatever you want them to be. You can choose any thumbnail that you want. And really, it's just, you could do whatever you want to do because you're not worried about advertisers paying you to put your content up. Some of the cons of being a creator is that you probably won't get many views. And that's just because you're not really in the cycle of the algorithm, in the sense that your titles are being driven by the algorithm or being carried by the algorithm. Your thumbnails aren't being carried by the algorithm. You're sort of in this land almost by yourself. And maybe some of your friends, and maybe if you put some keywords in there by mistake and you're not trying to follow this thing, you might get picked up. Now, I'm not saying that being a creator means you definitely won't get paid. I'm just saying that if you choose to have the mindset of a creator, which isn't on this rigid schedule, then YouTube is probably not going to be a place where you're going to grow as far as numbers and subscribers. It's just not going to happen. And the biggest thing is your videos will probably not be eligible for monetization, especially if you just say what you want to say. I think that's just the truth of it. If you choose to be a business on YouTube, what are some of the pros of that? Well, the obvious one is you get to make money. And sometimes you might get to make lots of it, depending on how successful you are at your business on YouTube. The other thing is you get access to things like affiliate linking, which means that you can have links in your description so that when people click on them, you get kickback from different items. It could be from Amazon, B&H, shoe companies, whatever. There's so many companies. Just about every company out there has an affiliate linking program. Now, you could do that as a creator, but again, sometimes in order to get some of these links, you have to have a certain amount of views for a company to even look at you as a viable thing, and you probably just won't get that many clicks. But if you're on the business side, then you will get access to some of these things. You also get perks like products under your videos once you reach a certain subscriber count. You also may get to connect with brands, larger brands, and then those brands could turn into brand deals, which turns into even more money. So you see, the incentive on the business side is to gain money and capital. That's the whole point of business, is to make money. And there are a lot of ways on and through YouTube that you can make money with. What are some of the cons though, when we're talking about going the business route on YouTube? Well, it's almost the opposite of what the cons are if you're a creative. You can't just post whenever you want. You have to stick to a schedule. You can't just post whatever you want. You have to have certain kind of content that doesn't get flagged. You can't have any type of thumbnail because people won't click it if it's not good. You can't just have any title because people won't click that. You have to watch all of your metrics, your average view duration, which means that you have to keep your videos entertaining so that people don't click off. And you have to know how to edit, and you have to know how to light and keep people's attention. That is a large thing to learn when it comes to business, and you have to have marketing skills. So all of these things come into play when you're talking about the business side of YouTube. And it is a lot more stressful if you're trying to go the business route versus just being a creator on YouTube. At this point, you may be saying to yourself, maybe I can do both. Maybe I can be a creative and a business at the same time on YouTube. And I would say, yes, you can. To me, that's the perfect balance. But more than likely, it's gonna lean towards more the business side because there's just so much you have to do in order to stay relevant on these here YouTubes. Trust me, I know. On the creator side, I can just post what I want. But even in that, I have to be careful because if I just post what I want, it may affect the business side. So again, the business side ultimately comes out on top. And I think this is part of what leads to the burnout of a lot of these YouTubers, because you're not in a free space where you can just say whatever you want and do whatever you want. You are in these confines and you have to be cognizant of them, even in your creativity. And that's very difficult to do. So the question is, if creators are feeling this pressure from the business side and the creator side, how does this affect the viewers?
Hey, what is up everybody? This is Steven with Purpose Lens Photo.
Yo, what's up everybody? It's your boy Steven, and we're gonna talk about the best camera.
What's up everybody? This is so, in this video, I'm gonna tell you 3 reasons why you need the Sony FX30, and I'm gonna be giving away 64 lenses that leave a comment below. Now don't forget to...
I like to start with the positive things first because I think it's just good to do that. Well, on the business side of things, if you're a viewer, you get to see reviews of products. You get to experience things that maybe you wouldn't be able to experience before. Like if you're watching someone travel to a nice place and they're going through a ship or some type of mountain and they're climbing, and you can see that stuff from your vantage point. Whereas before, you probably never would get a chance to go these places. So it's good that YouTube allows you and allows us to see those things. Another good thing is we get to see heartwarming stories of people coming together and doing things that benefit each other and benefit communities. Those are the type things I like to watch here on YouTube. On the other side of things, what YouTube is doing that negatively impacts us is causing or encouraging us to have very short attention spans. Even the YouTube Shorts in its name is almost indicative of what we have become when it comes to our attention spans. Very short. They're just short. They're only lasting for a few seconds, and then we're scrolling onto the next one. And before you know it, you spent 20, 30, 40 minutes just watching these 15, 30-second clips. And you're never getting to the end of anything. You're just wanting the next thing, wanting the next thing, wanting the next thing. You're never allowing your brain to stop, consider what you've watched, digest it, come up with a thought, and maybe have a change of action. You never get to that point because you're constantly just consuming, and you're not able to digest anything. And to me, that's a problem. The other thing about YouTube that I see that's negative is that it's creating an entertainment mindset, meaning that everything always has to be entertaining. If it doesn't entertain us, we just get bored really quickly. And that to me is not a good thing. Now, that's not to say that you always need to be thinking, but when I look at our society, I want to say that not many people are putting much thought into what they're doing with themselves or how they're communicating with others. The other thing that YouTube does when you're focusing on the business side is it causes us to rank each other based on views, based on subscriber count. And I think this is one of the things that subconsciously affect us that we don't really think about. When we're looking for new YouTubers, or if we see a new YouTuber, the first thing we'll do, or I'll admit, the first thing I do sometimes is I'll look at the amount of views the video has, or I'll look at the subscriber count. And when I look at that, that automatically tells me, it signals in my head, this person is worth listening to, or this person isn't worth listening to. But that can't be farther from the truth in real life. Just because someone doesn't have a lot of views doesn't mean that what they're saying is unimportant. And it doesn't mean that they don't have any value. Maybe on YouTube they don't, but in real life they do. That's not a good thing all the time. When you're talking about business and creating content with a business mind, the other thing that happens is you start to mimic what everybody else is doing. And this is just a byproduct of being on YouTube. When you're in business, you're in competition and you have to go with the flow. You can't go against the grain completely because that defeats the whole purpose of being on YouTube. What I mean by that is, if you look at a lot of these channels that talk about how to grow your YouTube channel, everybody's saying the same thing and everybody's trying to get everyone to do the same thing, even though we're all different. It reminds me of school. If you remember when you were in school, everybody sat at a desk, everybody listened to the same teacher, and everybody went over the same subjects at the same time and were graded on the same things and were expected to have the same outcome. The only problem with that, though, is that everyone is different. Everyone learns differently, everybody processes information differently, and everybody retains information at different levels. A lot of these YouTube gurus are telling people, you gotta have this type thumbnail. You gotta make your title say this. You have to have a hook in your intro, and you have to make sure you say these things and put these keywords here. And it just becomes this formulaic thing that almost doesn't represent who you are as a person, because you're having to do all these things so that the algorithm picks you up. Now, there's another word that we've heard millions of times before, is the YouTube algorithm. When I think about the YouTube algorithm, it's this mysterious thing that it seems like we kind of understand what it is, but then we don't understand what it is. But we understand what it's trying to do, but we don't understand how it's doing what it's trying to do. And some people have come up with theories, and some make sense and some really don't. And it's just really hard to wrap your mind around what this thing actually is. I do remember Mr. B saying something like this. He said, don't think of the word algorithm by itself, but replace the word algorithm with audience. And when I first heard that, I said, you know, that makes sense, because that is who is watching your video. It's the audience, and the algorithm just listens to the audience, right? Now that made sense to me until I started to run into situations to where it didn't make sense at all. I won't say the creator's name, but I'll say this. The creator came up in my recommended, and I really wanted to watch the video, but it was late at night and I decided to go to bed. But I took a screenshot of that person. I went to bed, got up the next morning, did whatever I had to do through the day, and later in the evening, I pulled that picture up again and I said, let me go watch that video because it looked interesting. I went to type in the person's name in YouTube. They did not show up. I went to the first page, the second page, the third page. I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling for at least a minute to 2 minutes, could not find this person at all. So I put the name or the title of the video in there, same thing. Scroll, scroll, scroll. I could not find this particular video. I put the person's name, the channel name, and I put the title of the video, same thing. Could not find them for nothing. So I went over to Google and I put the person's name in there and scrolled, and about 2 to 3 pages in, that person came up. And when they came up, I was like, that's weird. Why didn't they come up on YouTube, but they did on Google? I don't know, didn't make any sense to me. And this has happened more than once. And these are people who don't have a lot of subscribers. Now, this is the only thing that makes sense to me. This is my theory, my hypothesis. I could be totally wrong. I may not even know what I'm talking about. But this is what I think the algorithm is doing, partly. So I think the algorithm has a cache of people that it keeps. Let's just say 100 people at a time. Now, in this box, there are all the top creators, all your Mr. Beasts, all the PewDiePies, all those people who consistently stay in this bubble or in this square. But then the algorithm, whatever they're doing now, where they're introducing these new creators, I think it will cycle in new people. Let's say it's feeding them from the bottom on one side and then letting them come out the other side. And it stays like that for maybe a day or so, to where you can get views if you're in this box. Now, maybe more than 100 people, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say 100. Now, if those people don't get a certain amount of views within 24 hours or whatever the time limit is, then they will exit this box. And it's like, once they exit the box, their names are not indexed in YouTube. Now, just quickly, if you don't know what indexing is, basically it's like keeping a file system of everything that's on your hard drive or that's in YouTube. And it's like something is happening where those people aren't indexed anymore. They exist on YouTube, but you can't find them. You can't go straight to them. You need to find another source that will help you link back to that video. And Google, for some reason, seems to have a more comprehensive list of all the subscribers or all the creators on YouTube. So when you have that bubble, the key is to stay in that bubble. Now, you're doing that with your thumbnails, you're doing that with all of your titles, and making sure that you're staying on the trend. And the downside to that is you start to create a community where everybody is doing the same thing to stay in this bubble.
And if you deviate from that bubble at all, you simply won't be seen on YouTube, even if you're searched, if you're under a certain amount of subscribers.
This is what I found. And the other thing that corroborates this in my mind is the fact that I will open up a browser that has no sign in. I just go to youtube.com. I'm not signed in anywhere. As soon as I go to YouTube, the top creators are always there, no matter what. You'll hit the refresh button, everything will change, but those creators will stay there. They may switch spaces, but they're still at the top of the list. And that's always the case with the bigger YouTubers. So again, that's my theory of being in this bubble. And if you can stay in that bubble, then you can grow on YouTube. But what does it take to stay in that bubble is the question. Well, it takes what people call playing the game. I don't have all the answers. I'm still figuring it out myself. But here's my vow to you guys on this channel here. My vow is to always give you guys creative content that is real. I'm not going to feature things, gear, cameras, lenses, whatever it may be, that I don't use. Everything I talk about on this channel here, I actually use in real life. I'm shooting on the Sony FX30 right now with the Sigma 16mm 1.4. I'm not gonna review this camera, review this lens, and then put my other real camera up and shoot with that. No, I'm going to be shooting with the camera that I tell you is a good camera. The ZVE10, I use it all the time in all of my videos. I haven't used it in this video, but I use it a lot. It's not a camera that stays packed away or tucked away and I bring it up to say, oh, here's a 1-year review or here's a 2-year review. No, I actually use these things. I shoot with them professionally and I shoot with them for YouTube. So you can always know that any product that I review on this channel, I've used in real life, not just for the sake of a review, but I actually use them. I've turned companies down that ask me to review things because I say, I'm not gonna use that. And if I'm not gonna give my opinion on something that I don't know anything about. So that's my promise to you here on YouTube. And if I ever decide to change, I'll let you guys know. Now, what I am going to change, I am going to quit doing YouTube the way I've been doing YouTube. And I'll let you guys know what that means later on. I don't ever want to create clickbait titles because I just don't believe in it. I think that you should know what you're getting. And if that means that I get less clicks, then so be it. But my goal here is to be transparent. My goal is to be honest. And my goal is to be authentic with all of you guys. Thank you guys, everybody who supported this channel, whether you're subscribed or not, whether you've watched a video, didn't comment, if you liked the video, didn't like it, it doesn't matter. But if you do like this video, click the like button. Now, if you're watching on a computer, I will say this. When I say, if you like this video, the button lights up. Do you see that? This lets me know that the algorithm is really, or just the whole YouTube thing is really advanced. I'll say it again and take a look at your screen below if you're watching on a computer. Like this video. I'll say it again, like this video. Isn't that interesting that that button is lighting up like that? Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this video. Do you disagree with my point on things or my point of view on things? Or do you agree, or do you have another point of view? I'm very interested, for real, to see what you guys think. So in the comments below, let me know. But until next time, I'll holler at y'all later. I'm out. Peace.